So you've just went out to your coop and got a fresh egg. Now what do you do with them? Did you know that a freshly picked egg out of your chicken coop can sit on the counter at room temperature for about 2 to 3 weeks before you even have to worry about refrigerating it? Now that's comforting, knowing that the chickens are not laying the eggs in a refrigerator. Even after 2 or 3 weeks go by, if you still haven't eaten these freshly picked eggs, you can put them in the refrigerator, and at that point they can be good for 3, maybe 4 months. Most of your grocery store eggs are about 3 to 4 months by the time you buy them in the store anyway. Now, if you have any question about whether your eggs are good or not, there's a float test that you can do. Let me show you how that works. You're going to take this egg in question, and if the egg is fresh and you submerge it in a cup of cold water, cup, bowl, doesn't matter. If the egg is good, it should sink and lay flat on the bottom as such. Let's see what happens. This egg was just pulled out of the coop a few seconds ago. It ought to be as fresh gets. Well, looky there. Straight to the bottom. Now, as eggs age, they start to get a little bit of an air pocket in them. So if you got an egg that's getting to the point where it's about to go bad or is bad, that egg will just kind of bob and float. If you ever put an egg in water and it floats up here like that, get rid of it. No good. Now, one important thing that I forgot to mention is, if you're going to leave your eggs sit on your counter at room temperature, they'll only last this way if they're not washed. That's because when these chickens lay an egg, it has a protective film on it called a bloom. And that bloom is what keeps bacteria out. You rinse off those eggs, you rinse away the bloom, and then all of a sudden that egg is porous and it will allow bacteria to creep in. So you need to make sure that you don't wash the eggs so that that bloom stays intact and keeps your eggs clean while they're sitting on the counter. Good chicken. You know, back in the old days, they didn't have refrigeration. People didn't put their eggs in a refrigerator. They picked them and they left them sit on the counter for a couple weeks. And usually you ate them right away, so it didn't matter anyway. Now, it's important that in the middle of the winter, especially if your coop isn't insulated the best, you need to be checking regular for eggs. If they get too cold, eggs will freeze and bust, and then they're no good to you. Likewise, if it's a really hot summer, you need to be checking regular for eggs too. That's because you don't want them sitting out in a heat box where it's 100-some degrees for a couple days before you get to them. Eggs tend to spoil quicker when it's hot out. This is the Pretend Farmer checking out. Y'all enjoy your eggs out there, and be sure and subscribe to this channel. Good things are happening here on the Pretend Farm.